Also, this affects the morale of the technology team, the IT team in general. People are generally very risk averse, especially in this industry. When things are working, and that is the core, they do not want to touch it. Welcome to Tech Bites with Ash, where we discuss trends in digital technology that support true business outcomes. I'm Ashu Bhatia, a consultant, an author, and a practitioner of all practical insights on your technology investments. Well, hello there, and welcome back to my channel, Tech Bites with Ash. Today, I want to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to all the technology stakeholders. And these days, even business stakeholders are beginning to ask about it, wonder about it, and see how to address it. The topic is technical debt. What exactly is technical debt? It's not financial debt that shows up on a balance sheet or shows amortization or depreciation. What exactly is this, and how does it hold back companies trying to really accelerate their growth going forward? Well, technical debt, the way I would explain it is, let's say you have a little bit of a leak in your roof. You would absolutely have 2 or 3 approaches to it, right? The first could be you go up there, put some nice duct tape. That'll save you some time. It'll stop the water coming in. But everyone knows that's a very temporary solution. The second could be you look for a similar shingle and paste it or nail it. And absolutely, it'll save you the rain coming in. And then eventually, over time, that problem might fester and create a bigger issue with water coming into your walls, drywalls, etc. The final approach would be spend the right time looking at the design, getting rid of where the rot is, and then making sure that you patch it up properly with the right shingles, with the right zoning grid. So in that analogy is exactly what happens in technology solutions. Now, technology is very easy when you're trying to look at the different parts and pieces of bringing it all together. But we all know that as companies grow, as enterprises have used software or systems that are much older, as they're called legacy systems, there was a way that coding or that structure or that system would work. And now with the way things are going with the systems of engagement with consumers or with the backend systems, there are differences. What that means is you might have done a lot of coding that is called monolithic software. You have less and less flexibility with that software. Now you're able to break it out into small granular pieces and still have the performance latency. You need to find the right balance between all of those solutions. What happens in technology companies typically is that as you see a problem or a new rule that you need to adjust, there's a tendency to just kind of put some patchwork and make that work. Definitely works. But over time, this thing builds, and it's almost like you're borrowing money from the future. What that means is when you have to change systems again, it's going to lead to a problem. So how does technical debt manifest itself? You've seen and heard where problems take much longer to fix. 6-month, 12-month cycles to kind of get something going. A lot of patches. So it compounds over time, and it's very difficult to change code, or it takes just a long time to get a release out of the door. Also, this affects the morale of the technology team, the IT team in general, because they understand the pressure coming from their business counterparts in terms of short time to market. But because the systems do not allow them that agility, they are caught between the two vices, if you will. So that kind of mindset shows the problem festering. And I would say, especially in financial services, I would say tech debt is even more of a compound risk. What that means is it's absolutely slowing you down. As they call it, it's called the innovation gridlock. It doesn't allow you to kind of look at new technologies very easily, whether it's AI, cloud, or mobile. Also, with regulatory risk piling up, it makes it even tougher to secure, audit, and look at all of these systems. And typically, because of the slowness, because of the errors, sometimes because of downtime, it leads to poor customer experience. And that, in general, is absolutely something that can be quantified as a very big opportunity cost on a company's balance sheet. So what do you do? How do you address this? Especially in financial services, what I've seen is that people are using what is called the core banking systems. Those are things that do GL. They kind of match all the data. They will do all the transactions. Those are typically built on legacy systems. Similarly, in insurance, you have a lot of deep-rooted actuarial systems that are built on legacy. Very few companies are willing to change that, no matter what the buzzword and the buzz in the industry might be saying, hey, you've got all these cloud-native products like Mambu, etc. People are generally very risk-averse, especially in this industry when things are working, and that is the core. They do not want to touch that. What you touch is, systems of engagement, right? People where you're interacting with systems or consumers are asking, or you're interacting with the retail outlet, etc. The key would be you look at your system architecture and say, if I'm not going to touch some of my core, what are the interfaces? How much systems of engagement can I touch? Start documenting it. Start looking at what, that problem or the business logic is, and then start looking at strategies like building APIs to start granularizing the data. Start looking at what they call the Strangler Fig Pattern, where you take some functionality, build it around it, and then that just becomes bigger to replace the old system. Also, when it comes to putting some discipline around tech debt management, what I've seen is, as one of my guests on a podcast recently mentioned, he was a CIO in a really big retail firm. You work on annual budgeting cycles and allocate 10 to 15% on just tech debt reduction. You could come up with the right metrics to make sure that each one of them is addressed. So in a year or 18 months time frame, you've actually allocated the right mechanism to modernize your architecture. The other could be that you actually look at all the functionality. If you've done some due diligence and assessment, you look at what they call the avalanche method, where you pick the high priority, simple mechanism to say, what is my cost that this functionality is costing me? What will it take to change it? So the whole pain gain work metrics on each one of those functions, you try to map and help prioritize and kind of address it that way. The idea is that you have to be looking at this. Otherwise, that leaky roof is going to flood your systems very soon. One of the great examples that the whole industry talks about is how did Capital One as a company, as a bank, morph its monolithic, very slow code into this kind of way. It tells you that tech debt can be addressed. What they did is they thought of kind of creating almost a cloud native architecture. They went into it with AWS. They got all their physical data centers to kind of port all the data. They did all what is called the microservices and, event driven architecture. Then eventually what this typically leads to is not only are you changing the systems and the processes that work, your ways of working have to change as well. So they did what is called DevSecOps and making sure that they got into a very quick, agile way of working, just like some of our retail, counterparts like Amazon. When you have the app, many times during the day, you're getting a new deployment and you don't even realize that. And that's the kind of thing that they did to reduce the debt reduction, make sure that they were getting ready for new growth. And that's when they started thinking about new products, whether it was on deposits, loans, or even international money transfers, to then say that this architecture could help you look at new functionality and capture some new sources of revenue, and you have the baseline covered. So what I would encourage all of our counterparts watching this is that never ignore technical debt. We all know that eventually we have to address it. Have the right mechanism, the right ways to kind of deal with it as you go on your journey to build your systems.